West Ham fans. It's the Bobby Moore stand, Gary and Chris, and it's the Thursday show in the midst of the transfer window bullshit, and got a lot to say on that today. To be honest, before I start, I just want to say, I'm not targeting anyone on this in particular, because I think largely the people who make content are true West Ham fans, and they put their own time into doing it. Whatever, right? But anyway, take it how you want, watch it. That includes Nick, who's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Nick. I do not believe he drinks from the David Sullivan hose, as neither do Chris or I. Right? So, again, I hope we've got a lot to get through, and I hope that when we get there, people don't take things the wrong way, because nothing's designed to be personal. All right. So anyway, let's carry on. Good evening to everybody in the chat. Good evening to Claire and Bodger, Matt, who's got to squeeze his show in for work, so I'd be delighted that we're running late. Sorry, Matt. And yes, let's crack on. How are you, Chris? Before we get going, it's been busy, isn't it? Busy work.
It's been really busy, mate. Yeah, really busy. Yeah. Not so busy on the West Ham front, though, but yeah, busy from my work perspective, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to cover that. And we're also going to cover what we think are the genuine transfer stories. I did send out a tweet last night saying if I was to put money on something, on a transfer, it would be Andre Silva, and there are reasons for that I'll come to. Okay, I think Chris covered every reason the other day, actually. This week has been tough. It's been really tough. If you like me and Chris have been trying to keep up with West Ham news, and I've got to be honest, it's been frustrating as hell, right? Because every time I've had to stop using news now, because frankly, it is a waste of time. All it is clogged up with article upon article upon article from the same bloody news stories from the same sites, and those sites. One of them, here's an example. Chris, you'll love this, right? Inside Football is called this site that never read one of their articles.
Yeah, I know that.
The headline was West Ham fans will not believe Bowen's luck, and I'm thinking, oh, Bowen's bloody injured again. Oh Christ! So I clicked on it, didn't I? Plum. 5 pages of preamble guff, generic bullshit that could be in any article, because that's how they do it, right? That's how they do it. That's how they get so many articles out. They want you to go through all the ads. That's what they get paid on. You get to the bottom. The whole article was about, we'd just beaten Fulham, and Jared Bowen has sent a tweet out saying, 3 points, well done, lads. That was the article. At that point, I snapped. I just thought, this is year end this month, and I'm working sales, and my life is hectic. I'm trying to get things done. I'm trying to get things full on for 3 days. A couple of minutes I get where I can check a news feed, I end up clicking on that. And then another time I start looking at the news, I just get the same bloody story over and over again. I go onto Twitter, right? I go onto Twitter, and honestly, the same people being retweeted, the same bloody stories, the same ones who do drink from the David Sullivan hose of plenty. You know they are. I ain't going to name them. I've stopped naming them. Going to go through the week's happenings, Chris, in terms of the everything we've had to read through and try and keep on top of in this, what is the busiest month of the year for me. It all started the other night, didn't it? We put in apparently a 57 million bid for Duran, and this spawned just this was Sky Talk Sport, this was channels, this was everything. He's coming. West Ham, Sully had told everyone that we put out a 57 million bid. It's broken by David Ornstein, of course. Turns out a couple of days later we'd bid 43 million, and also we probably couldn't afford his wages. So what was the point? What was the point in that? That was creating fuss for nothing. What do you think of that, Chris? Did you believe it? Yes, you did. Of course you did.
I've already said my piece on this. It's a load of bollocks, mate. That's what it is. Yeah. It's just, I think if anyone actually believed it, I think they kind of need to kind of, what's that expression, Gary? Give their heads a wobble. I hate it.
Give their heads a wobble, yeah. They need to.
Honestly,
they need to.
Come on, as if that was ever going to happen. Because first and foremost, they already knew that Villa wanted between 70 to 80 million for him.
Yeah.
So we're going with a half-assed bid like that. 44 million pound add-ons that probably are just going to be ridiculous, as I said the other day, based on, I don't know, West Ham getting in Champions League, whatever it's going to be. Yeah. It's honestly, it's a load of nonsense.
It was all crap, right?
Absolute nonsense.
And then that was followed up later by West Ham to increase their bid to 65 million, in brackets, probably 55 million, right? And you're thinking, God, they're going to carry on with this. They're going to try and keep people on the hook, keep West Ham in the news cycle, because that is what David Sullivan wants. He doesn't really care what you think as fans, what we think. Don't care. What he's worried about is his public persona. He wants to be the big man, the leader, the owner of the football club who's putting in massive bids and competing with the big boys, when in fact, nothing of the sort. Right? It's his minions who go and get us lot and you lot on the hook. A man who hardly any of us can stand gets his words put out there ad infinitum across every platform, and West Ham fans who cannot stand the bloke end up repeating what he says. That's what happens. Right, so you can tell I'm a bit tightly wound this week. West Ham close to signing Banzuzi. This is last night. It turns out Karen Brady did a take it or leave it bid a couple of weeks ago, way below asking price, lowballed it because she's a top negotiator. Nothing since. But it was close to a deal last night. Who the hell put that out there?
Well, it's Sullivan again, isn't it? Of course it is, mate. I said my piece on this yesterday with that Banzuzi thing, because the deal was rejected. It was rejected. And ultimately, if he's a player that we genuinely want to sign, then we've got £57 million to spend, apparently. So why can't we just shell out maybe 1 or 2 more million? Honestly, what's that in the bigger scheme of things? If he's, and we all need a box-to-box midfielder. He's a central midfielder. He's a box-to-box midfielder.
Yeah,
he's got pace. He's got everything that we'd probably need. I'm not saying he'd be starting or anything like that, but if we really wanted him, stop pissing about with these stupid derisory offers. It makes no sense. It doesn't. Well, especially it's pointless.
Well, especially because we know we failed 2 weeks ago. What's the point in putting it in a news cycle, right? Yeah. Then, and again last night, we're really close to signing either a Belgian or a Dutch 19-year-old midfielder, another one who's supposed to be brilliant, right? Nothing today. West Ham said not close. But who started the rumour? Was it West Ham? Freddie Potts is coming home. I'd already said last week that Freddie Potts ain't coming home because Steve Potts told me he had 48 hours for West Ham to make a move and sign him and cancel his pull him out of the loan. It's a loan window or something, right? And anyway, that got tweeted out the other night. Again,
it's all delaying tactics, because from a fan's perspective, they're thinking, we can bring him back. Happy days, because I think every fan would like to see him back because he would offer us something that we don't actually have. So it's delaying tactics. Yeah. The more we delay it, you're talking, okay, so it's Thursday last week. It was still in the fucking press on Monday and Tuesday. You're talking 4 or 5 days later.
Twitter drove me mad the other night, honestly, because, like I said, I've had long days. I ended up staying up at night, and as you get more tired, you get crankier. And I was sitting there on Twitter, replied to a few people, said, well, his dad told me this. Completely ignored. They carried on talking as if I weren't there, right? So I did a reply to Source and said, well, his dad told me last week, or I said, this expired. Like, I didn't mention Potsy, actually. I actually said just to him about, there was a window last week, it closed. Are we going to pay to break the loan or whatever? Or what are you going to do? And a couple of minutes later, the record was corrected. Yeah. so that is just, what's it put out there for? We knew it wasn't a thing. So what was it put out there for? And I'm not blaming the person that put it out there in that case. He might have just taken it for granted what he was being told was the truth, but it wasn't. Now, West Ham close to signing and Andre Gomez. We were never in the running for this. Let me say, we could have been in the running for it. That is true. We could have been, because he would have come to West Ham had we met the deal that he wanted. It was something like a 4-year deal plus
Angel Gomez. Yeah, I was getting confused then. Angel Gomez, yeah, or
Angel Gomez. That's what I mean. Gomez, I'm thinking about the Andre geezer, aren't I? The other Andre geezer.
We'll
I'll come to him
after. In a minute,
yeah, Angel Gomez. Yeah. But it would have been a quality signing, as we all know. Don't need to tell you like that. And sadly, it was just all smoke and mirrors, because we could have got him had we tried, but we didn't try. We were miles off. And Champions League clubs are interested in him as well. We know about Jonathan David. We could have got him for 20 million last year. We decided not to. Must have the wrong agent. This year, we've decided, there was a load of stirring up the pot, saying how we're interested, how we're close, how we're talking to the club. Weeks ago, his agent had actually told Lille he's going nowhere. We're waiting for his contract to run out, which is fair enough, right? And then we had West Ham have actually got 57 million to spend, says Sully. Well, spend it then, you fucker. You know, the young defender today. This again comes out of one of his mouthpieces, and this is the kind of nastiness that you get. What's his name? Harrison Ashby. Harrison Ashby's had a disaster since he left here, right? I didn't wish him any ill. You know, who knows what goes on behind the scenes and why they don't sign their contract. But he got a good move to Newcastle. It's all fallen apart since. Well, you know, lots of photos and basically a passive-aggressive tweet came out tonight, which is like, and it's like the owner saying, well, that's what you get, son. It's like a veiled threat to the youth team saying, see what happens if you don't sign your contract. You know, try and ask for too much money. Anyway, that sort of stuff is just distasteful in my eyes. The best one of the last couple of days, and I'm not sure how many of you saw this, but this is by far the best, is Neymar. Chris, Neymar is coming to West Ham. 32-year-old Neymar is coming to West Ham. Yeah. I don't know how many of you saw that, but I almost fell off my chair laughing when that happened. I just thought, oh my God, clickbait city. And finally, we're being linked with, no, not finally, this is the penultimate one. We're being linked tonight with a 23-year-old Ajax striker. It happened just before we come on air, so I ain't got the details. But, you know, the odds are we ain't got anyone who can do the deals anymore. Now Tim's on his way. We're sending probably Salthouse and his mate Silkman to do the deals. That's going to go well, isn't it? So I don't anticipate we're going to get anybody who is in any way sought after. That's what I'm saying. We're not going to compete anymore. At least when Tim did the deals, we could.
This guy, okay, so we'll talk about Andre in a minute. Okay, we'll talk about Andre Gomez in a minute. But this other guy that we've been linked with, Brian, what's his name? Brian Brobby from Ajax.
Yeah.
So let's kind of break this player down.
Thanks, Randy.
And after I've kind of given this overview, let's kind of actually, I'd love to hear what the chat think with regards to whether or not we're actually genuinely going to sign this player or even go in for him, right? So he's at Ajax at the moment. Yeah. He's their number 9, okay?
Yeah.
They're number 9. 22 years old. Just kind of broken into the Dutch team over the course of the last sort of year and a half, made 7 appearances. For Ajax, as I say, he's the number 9. He's their main striker. He's scored 32 goals in 79 games, okay? Starts every single game. Last season, scored 18 goals in 30. Season before that, 13 in 32. Season before that, when he broke through, 7 goals in 11 games. So he's got 39 in 90 for Ajax, okay? Well, sorry, overall, in terms of his career so far. So he is a player that is on the up, okay? His career's on the upwards trajectory. He's looking really good. He's worth around about 30 million, like a 30 to 35 million pound, this player. And we're being linked with him. I'm telling you now, it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. It's another load of bullshit. I can guarantee, honestly, if this does happen, I will absolutely eat my words on this, but there's no way it's going to happen.
There's no way it's going to happen.
Nonsense again.
But I'll tell you who's great at signing Ajax's best players.
Yeah, well, he ain't going to be around much longer, is he? So
he went there and he took Kudus and Alvarez. They're 2 best players at the time. We took them.
Yeah.
If we wanted that striker, he'd go and get it done. I'm telling you, the jet would have to be pulled out again. If there's one thing, if you're going to give credit, you know, slag off Tim all you want, but bear in mind when you're doing it, is all you're doing is repeating what comes out of Sullivan's mouth. Right? So they want you to do it. And by the way, this one, he's right, Darren. This one came up just as I was leaving the house just now. Rashford again. West Ham close to 320 grand a week striker.
Honestly, I'm starting. No, I'm not starting to. I am actually. This month, I'm getting seriously pissed off at West Ham. I kind of think I expressed my emotion in this yesterday because it is a joke. 57 million quid, right? Okay, we've got 57 million pound. I guarantee to you, we won't even spend half of that this window. We won't. There's no way we're going to spend half of that. If we buy anyone, can we come on to Andre Silva now? Okay.
We're going to. I was going to say you wound up already. We haven't even spoke about Andre Silva yet.
This is the one, right? This is the one that really, excuse my language, really fucks me off. Okay.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about Andre Silva from 5 years ago, I would be buzzing. Because Andre Silva 5 years ago,
it was a good player.
Eintracht Frankfurt in the Bundesliga scored 28 goals in 32 games. Absolutely prolific, right? He was on fire. Then he goes to Leipzig. He plays. I think I mentioned some of this yesterday, right? 33 appearances, scored 11 goals, and ever since then, his career has been on the decline, right? He's also had an injury which kept him out for a year I think around about 23, between 23 and 24, a whole year, over a year he was out for. All right. So if you look at his stats over the course of the last 3 years, 4 goals in 31 games. 4, right?
I know.
The next season,
He's finished.
1 goal in 8 games. This season, 3 goals in 19 games. He turns 30 years old. 30 years old this year. He's one of fucking Salthouse's clients. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And we're being linked with him. So I can tell you now, he's absolutely he typifies the type of signing that we'll buy, the type of striker we'll buy, because it's like Danny Ings all over again. It's like Diego Tristan. It's like Guillermo Franco. It's like all of those types of players. We've gone back to those days of signing those players again, Gal. Now, look, again,
I know. No, we never left them. We never left them, Chris.
I don't doubt that the guy has talent, or at least had talent, right?
So had talent, yeah.
Maybe if he stayed fit and he could score goals, maybe. But bloody hell, it's a massive gamble if we're relying on him to be our number 9 for predominantly the rest of the season, because there is no one else apart from Jared Bowen, because we know all the other strikers are out. And I'm not even going to include Danny Ings in this. So how on earth can he be the option? How can he be the option? Because honestly, mate, right now I'd rather stick with Danny Ings. I don't even understand why we're going for him, mate. It makes no sense.
Well, I'll tell you what, right? I knew you'd kick off for that. Bloody hell.
Honestly, it's infuriating, because you can see this one happening. I said this yesterday. I said this on the video. Yeah. He's exactly the player we're going to end up signing. And it's going to happen. I guarantee by the end of the window. And here's the thing that they'll say as well, Gal. They'll be banging on, we've signed Portuguese international Andre Silva.
Yeah, I know.
Mate,
the video.
He played for his country since 2022. He played for 3 years ago.
Going to have the intro video, Chris, the glamorous intro video cut into him scoring a goal for Portugal and everything. It's going to be fantastic. I'll be so motivated by it.
3 years ago.
I know. But it reminded me, last night, it was 1:30 in the morning. I was deeply pissed off with Twitter. And I think it was 1:30 anyway. I lost track of time. I sent out a tweet and I said, if I were to put money on one player we would sign in this window, it would be Andre Silva. And the reason is, when you're someone's agent, what you probably want at 29, you don't want to do it when he's 30, because in football that's considered on a downward slope, right? But he's 29 just about. He's 30 in a couple of weeks, like Chris said. So you got to do it now. It's urgent. Time is critical. Get that deal done so that agent can get one final payday out of that player. And if you think back to Danny Ings, we're going to give you some figures, right? We paid 18 million for him, 125 grand a week. Was it a 2 or a 3 year deal? I think it was 3, wasn't it? 3 year deal. If it wasn't, then you'll have to do the math accordingly. But based on a 3 year deal, 125 grand a week with an 18 million fee and agents' fees and everything else, you're talking about an investment for Danny Ings, a footballer who was great in his day, but very much at the bottom of the downward slope when we got him. £37 million investment, and that is what this is going to be.
Oh well. So hold up, Gal. Sorry. I've got to interject there. Right? I know that's ridiculous, by the way. The Danny Ings thing. We know that was absolutely extortionate in terms of what we paid out for him.
What I'm saying is, Chris, it wasn't done for the benefit of the club or the team or even the manager. It was done for other reasons, and I don't know why that is.
Andre Silva, apparently what they're saying is it's going to be a loan deal. Okay, a loan deal to the end of the season.
Loan with obligation,
Yeah, well, that's what worries me, because if it is, then we're fucked. I mean, honestly, we're fucked, because I honestly cannot believe. Well, I can believe, but I can't. I don't know, mate. It's just so typical West Ham, isn't it? It really is. There are so many other strikers out there we could go for, apart from bloody him.
There's a stranger in the chat. Black Country. Ain't seen him for ages. Bloody hell. Hello, Black Country. 145. This is what I believe. They actually said 155 million, Black Country. I think it's closer to what you're saying there, 99. For instance, there's no way we paid, they're saying 19 now. They said 25 and then they realised that was embarrassing. So they downed it to 19 for Guillermo. They didn't pay over 10 for Guillermo, right? Bear in mind, these deals are private. They can say what the hell they like.
Yeah. And most of them are on the drip as well, mate. You know, most of them are. So it's a load of nonsense. We never spent anywhere near that amount. Of course we didn't.
Yeah. I'm going to go for a few comments in a minute. Sorry, we're ranting, people. He will get a 5-year deal. Of course he will, Richard. And it'll be, I'll tell you what'll happen. Let me predict it, because I'm turned into the Sullivan whisperer, right? It depresses me so much when I hate something. I turned into the Moyes whisperer a few years ago, because everything I thought he'd do, he did. And this is where I'm with Sullivan now. I knew he was going to do this. I knew he was going to wait to the end of the window and get a couple of last-minute sort-ass deals. they're not backing the manager at all, are they? They're not
Obviously
backing him at all. And I'll tell you why. And this is just my hypothesis, right? Lopetegui, nobody wanted Lopetegui. We accepted him and tried to get behind him, but nobody really wanted him. Yeah, not one person. And I'm talking about you guys who watch social media and YouTube and across channels and the YouTube channels. Nobody really wanted him, apart from one. But anyway, when he went to Wolves, they had Portuguese owners, and he ditched his agents to go to work for the Portuguese owners. It's known that those Portuguese owners were friendly to the Salthouse crew or the Siltman crew or both, whatever. So when he came here, I thought, that's a Salthouse deal, isn't it? He's definitely in the middle of that. And it wasn't admitted at the time. However, it was admitted by one of the mouthpieces. He was instrumental in the Lopetegui deal. So again, whenever they do a deal like that, I've got to question whether it's done for the good of the player, or the good of the manager, or the good of the team, or the good to people's pockets, right? Because and this is, I think it's different with Somerville. Somerville was great, right? Somerville looks like a right talent, but he's at a different end of his career, and he's one that's hopefully thrives at West Ham and does really well for seasons to come. And I'm not going to have a go at a player just because he belongs to an agent, but there was a lot of jiggery pokery going on. We've all seen the stuff around Tim, and AD Hammer wrote on Nigel Khan's thing last night on Twitter. I forget what it's called. Sorry, Nigel. But anyway, it was a really well written article, and it encapsulated everything I think about the Steidten debacle. And one thing he pointed out in there was, in the summer, it was Steidten that wanted to sign Duran. It was Sullivan who wouldn't pay the money because he wanted Somerville so much. So he was led by the fact that this was a Salthouse client. Nothing against Somerville. He was led by the fact it was a Salthouse client. And he told Steidten to go and get a cheaper striker, which he did. Didn't work out. But because it didn't work out, whose fault is that? Ultimately. And now Sullivan, a few weeks ago, had his mouthpieces, it was last week, had his mouthpieces tweet out, Somerville's the only decent player we signed last summer. It's like, well, yeah, but also that combination of Salthouse and Thingy, they usually get us players at the arse end of their careers, like Maxwell Cornet, Andre Silva, right? Danny Ings, people like that, right? That is what happens. Either that, or they're at the beginning of their career and they need a platform to increase their value, which I'm loosely okay with in the case of Somerville, as long as they're a talent. But there's too many people who are just on the books doing nothing, or they want to get their last little payday. We signed Max Cornet for 4 years, I think. He's got 2 years to run. We've just given him to someone else on loan for 6 months. Do you know her?
Yeah.
God, it's unbelievable. We've got a 40-year-old goalkeeper, the oldest player in the Premier League. Mm-hmm. And we really need a goalkeeper. It shows, doesn't it?
Oh, we need a fucking spine. I've said this before. We need a goalkeeper. Yeah. We need a centre back. We need a box-to-box midfielder. We need a striker. But we don't look close to getting anyone at this moment. No. You know, it's a fucking joke. I don't know what it was. Someone in the chat just now said something along the lines of, just because we put this bid out doesn't mean we've got 57 million.
That's right.
Of course we don't. I'm joking about this. Do you know what I mean? Like when I've done this the other day, I specifically said, well, we've got 57 million quid. So actually, if you look at it objectively, we could actually sign those 4 or 5 players that we've been linked with. That's not going to fucking happen. We don't have 57 million quid. It's a load of bollocks. And if anyone genuinely believes it, they need to fucking get their heads tested, because we ain't going to spend no more than 20 million quid, even if we spend that, Gal. We're not going to do it. We just won't do it.
It's been admitted now that the structure of the offer for Duran was 43 million over 4 years plus add-ons, bonuses.
Can you imagine if Villa actually called his bluff and said, you know what, fuck it, yeah, all right, you can have him. He'd be shitting himself, wouldn't he?
No, the wages were too low. The player wouldn't have accepted the wages anyway. It was wrong on 2 counts, right? It was wrong on 2 counts. It was never going to be accepted. There was a fallback as well.
Of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
Of course it wasn't.
Yeah. So look, going back to my Lopetegui point and him coming in through Salthouse, I mean, that's why he got backed, because he's in the right tent, Lopetegui. You know, he's going to stand by it. That is why the tripartite thing with Tim and Moyes existed, because Moyes was in the tent, which is why they loved him so much, right? So he knows who to please, Moyes. Lopetegui knows who to please, which is why he went out of his way to unsettle Tim, as did David Moyes. And then when all that failed, the character assassination of all character assassinations has been launched onto him directly from the club, which has got to be, yeah, you know, that it's got to be constructive dismissal on it if he walks. I mean, that's what I'd be saying, honestly. It's but anyway, that is up to
it's
Tim.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Anything that's slightly gone wrong, they're putting on him. Everything.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's pathetic. It really is.
Well, last night they changed it again last night and had been flooded with, he spent too much money, the deals are too expensive. Well, look, he bought in Lopetegui's boy, Kilman, for 40 million, probably 10 million too much, fine, but I still think Kilman's a player. But we gave him a 7-year contract from Wolves. So I've got to ask you, again, that wasn't a deal that was Steidten's in any way, shape or form. He was fulfilling the requirements of the manager and trying to keep him happy, right? And with Soler and with the other geezer, Guido. Nobody denies that, by the way. Nobody denies that those 3 signings were Lopetegui's. Okay, and look, I think Chris, the whole point of all this is people who watch these channels and people who make content for these channels that are not full time, right? We're busy people. And in the main, and like when you're trying to just catch up on the news when you're in a rush, you don't want your time wasted with bullshit. And this week has just driven me to distraction because I just realised that not only are West Ham fans wasting their time getting excited about rumours, they're repeating the words that are coming out of the owners' mouths, and that is what they want. So please, if you've got the time and the inclination, check your sources.
I must have had someone brainwashed or something because they messaged me the other day and they said to me, I don't know what you're talking about, Andre Silva's better than Duran or some bollocks like that. I mean, what the fuck are you on about? I mean, seriously. I mean, what are you reading? I don't understand the mentality of it. I don't. It's fucking off your head.
Like you said, right? Like you said, this is a prediction I think we share, right? What is bound to happen is Andre Silva was a good player once, but he's 5 years past his best. When they're in that condition, they have to be fit, and every now and then they'll produce the goods. You can guarantee he'll join, he'll hit the ground running, might score a hat-trick, people going, whoa, we've got Andre Silva, right? Yeah. 2 games later, he'll be out for fucking 2 months.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, the Premier League is a brutal league, right? And unless you're relatively bulletproof and quite strong as a striker, like Antonio, who in the end hardly ever got injured, just injured himself, unless you're really, really strong and physical as a centre forward, as a striker, you are going to get bashed up. And that Andre Silva, he looks fragile as hell. He's going to be injured all over the place.
Do you know, like with regards to Andre Silva, I'm looking at his record. I'm not just looking at the last 5 years where he has, as I say, he's been regressing massively.
Yeah.
In terms of his goals per game ratio. Yeah. But if you look back, actually, he's really only had 1, maybe 2 good seasons throughout his career, in my opinion. Right, one was in 2020 where he scored 28 and 32, which is a phenomenal rate. Season prior to that, 12 and 25. Yeah, that's half decent. But aside from that, pretty bang average numbers. And also, some of those numbers are from the second division, for Porto, right? So he's not been that prolific at all. He's not played for Portugal for 3 years. It's mental. I don't even know why anyone would get excited by this signing. Again, don't get me wrong. If he signs for West Ham, we'll fucking back him and get behind him. Of course we will. I want to slag him off once he signed for us. But at this moment in time, I don't want him to sign for us. I truly believe there are better options out there than going for a fucking 30-year-old has-been, because that's exactly what he is.
It's like Danny Ings. Every time he comes on the pitch, people sing his name and stuff like, because they can see he's trying, the poor sod, right? But he's just limited in what he can do. It ain't his fault. And that'll be the same story again, because this is what they do to us. We generate a lot of revenue in this club, and that revenue finds its way out of the club as fucking quickly as it comes in. And what do we end up with? Basically, a couple of decent players to hold it, to put our hats on, and a load of fucking average. A load of average, where people have clearly earned out of deals, right? I don't know who, but that's what's happening, because there are certain players we don't go after properly, and there must be a reason for that, and Duran's one of them.
But it's an embarrassment, though, Gal, because I don't, as fans, we're embarrassed of the owners of the club, because you look at the Duran deal, right? you know, we're being called out by that. You know, yeah, we didn't offer that much money, but we're saying to various different media outlets that we are offering 57 million. Sky Sports, oh, you know, you're after John Duran, 57 million plus add-ons, or how do you feel about that? Villa fans are after you. Don't worry, that ain't going to happen. It's not 57 million, it's 43 million, and it's a fucking bullshit offer. And then you talk about, but it's every fucking player that are after, though, mate. It's pathetic.
But Chris, what you just described is exactly what floats Sullivan's boat. He wants to turn on Sky Sports and see him being spoken about in such an ambitious way. That is what it's all about.
But he's not, though, Gary. He's not there because the truth is coming out when the actual clubs that we're bidding from are coming out and saying, no, we haven't received that. I mean, fuck me, look at the Banzuzi deal. Apparently that one was close. Sky Sports are saying that he's coming over for fucking medical. That's not happening. That hasn't happened. That was 2 weeks ago. They made an offer and it got rejected. And now suddenly they've stuck it out to the press again to say that's happening. And the club, was it Sullivan? They've come out and said, no, nothing's been agreed. I mean, I'm sorry, you're making yourself look like a fucking idiot. I mean, he's done the same thing. I've seen it on TalkSport with Simon Jordan. There's the same thing that David Sullivan's tactics, and we all know what his tactics are. He does it every fucking year.
He's done it for 15 years. 15 years.
I know, but like Andy Johnson, he stuck that in the press that we were after him putting a bid in, and Simon Jordan's like, no.
It never arrived.
Yeah, exactly.
He must have sent it by carrier pigeon, he said.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sorry, how can you not be embarrassed by that when you're literally being called out by the clubs that you're saying you're making bids for? You're not doing it. You're not doing it. Everyone fucking can see you're not doing it. So no, I don't believe anything I hear. And any fan that does, honestly, I think you need to kind of reassess that, because I don't believe any of this stuff is true. I don't.
No, I mean, frankly, if David Sullivan called me up and told me his name was Dave, I wouldn't repeat it as fact. Right? That is how little I trust the guy. And now anybody who calls himself a West Ham fan can consciously, I'm not saying they'll do it consciously, but some of them do, how they can consciously parrot what he says, knowing full well that the West Ham fans fucking hate him. Why do they do that? Do they get some sick twisted kick out of it or something like that? Got tongue-tied there. I don't know. I don't know what motivates them to do that, but it pisses me off and I wish they'd stop doing it. Right? So, anyway. Look, let's go through a few comments. Sorry, people, we've been ranting amongst ourselves. If David Sullivan really wants GP? Potter. Why employ him and his guru? Well, look, if he doesn't really want him, well, the thing is, he held on for Lopetegui as long as he could, and as I said, Lopetegui was very comfortable inside the tent, did everything he could to make him look good, and I think what happened in the end was he was forced into a situation, Sullivan, where he initially offered him a 6-month deal. He realised there were not really any other viable options out there. So Potter played hardball because there was competition for his signature, and he had to do in the end what he had to do. And so now it's just off you go, Potter. You're on your own, mate, because we're not going to back you. We're just going to get you some old fucking second-hand players out of the Portuguese league. We all know what he needs, and if he doesn't get what he needs, then when the club, which has already started, begin this negative narrative, and I'll tell you it started already, I'm telling you now, there's been examples after the Palace game, and it's gone even further than that, right? Firstly, I told you the other night, it was a club insider said it was unacceptable. That's the first thing. A known mouthpiece for Sullivan was openly suggesting that Loppe was underrated and brought his stats out and compared it to Potter and kind of said they were superior.
Underrated,
right? That's just the start of it. Yeah, and then last night I saw an article from another popular news site, which is sourced in the same way, where it said, Potter, now's the time for him to prove himself. Guess what the story was? It weren't, he's got 3-4 players coming in and he'll have the tools to do his job. It was Jared Bowens getting his way back to fitness. So you can see where this is going. There's no patience. Now, this is why I'm saying be careful, right? Because a lot of people, and I don't blame them, because it appears like mainstream news and it's like, it just gets into your head. I know what it's like. But the Steidten thing, when you sit and think about it and consider the detail, you realise it's unfair. If you just fall for the headlines, we bloody got us a German, he got us a Brazilian, paid loads of it. He's rubbish, right? If you fall for that and just repeat it, then you're your own worst enemy. And I'll tell you why you're your own worst enemy, because I think many people look at Potter and think he's a very considered man. He's got a track record. He had a job at Brighton to do pretty much the same job as what he's being asked to do here. They were heading towards relegation. All right, I don't think we were, but they were in disarray. They were going nowhere, Brighton. He used what he had at his disposal, which was not everything, And he turned them into a solid Premier League side. And year on year, he built with a couple of players until he got them up to, I think, 4th place when Chelsea poached him. Right? He needs time. What he doesn't need is judging after, you know, we got Villa away, Chelsea away, Arsenal away, and Brentford at home in the middle there. Not one easy game amongst all of them. So if we get to the end of that, and he hasn't got any new players to solve his problems, and his squad ain't fit, he ain't a magician, the bloke. But I'm telling you now, the attacks have already started. So don't find yourself repeating those attacks just for the sake of it. Make your own mind up. If you don't like him, you don't like him, right? Make your own mind up. That's what I'm saying. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Don't open News Now and get, you know, fooled by. If you look, I looked at my News Now feed the other night, right? It had 30 articles from 2 West Ham news sites only. Some of them, those stories, were referencing each other as the source. Right?
Yeah.
It's warped. They've tried to completely take over and dominate the West Ham news cycle. Don't let it happen. Fuck them. I'm going to start blocking people. The ones who retweet this shit and the ones who tweet it, I'm going to block them. Get them out of my news feed because it just wind me up. I don't want to be wound up. Anyway, Chris, any last rants before we carry on?
I'm not in the mood tonight, mate. I'm just not in the mood for any positivity at all. I don't think there is any at the moment. I really don't.
No, but we're going to talk to the people in chat. Yeah, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
So yeah, look, in summary to that last question, I don't believe Sullivan wanted Potter. I think he wants rid of Potter because he's not in the tent like Lopetegui was and Moyes. I think he wants rid of him as soon as possible. Once Tim's gone, the next scapegoat will emerge. It will start with Kyle, his wingman. You know, got to undermine the wingman, so undermine the man. And yeah, he'll be blamed for every bad transfer that's made from now on. We sign Andre Silva, that'll be Kyle. What's his name's? Forget his name's fault. Right. So look out, Black Country. How many strikers have we signed in the past few years have been the wrong choice for the manager or coach? Well, look, we don't buy the right player for the team. We never have under this regime. Very rarely. Sometimes we've fluked it, right? But that's why we ended up with Scamacca and with Haller, 2 completely unsuitable strikers, uniquely unsuitable. And then Danny Ings, like I said already, uniquely unsuitable for the West Ham situation, can only play in the front 2, and we need one. And 2 players who can't play up front on their own in Haller but Scamacca, but when they do, they're brilliant. So we had a manager who just refused to play a front 2. So listen, I don't know why it happened. What, you know, I can guess, but I ain't going to just speculate and throw accusations around. But, you know, let's just say I believe it's money motivated, and that's all I'm going to say. Right, okay, let's talk amongst themselves. So Chris, go through the chat as well, see if I can find it. I mean,
Sorry, I just Darren, you said it's a loan. Oh, yeah, but surely there's better options out there than a fucking loan for, you know, Andre Silva.
What happened to the 57 million we had to spend, Darren?
Exactly my point, Kevin. Let's put down here, just for 6 months, and Potter will be. It doesn't matter, like, you know. Hopefully he will rebuild the squad in the summer. But 6 months, I'm sorry, mate. There's got to be better options out there. We know there are better options out there. If he sticks his fucking hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
Totally. Another one from Charlie, a 57 million bid for one of the most highly rated under 21 strikers in the world on Monday. Then on Thursday, on the verge of signing an injury-prone 29-year-old with 8 goals in 48 games. But bang on, right? 8 goals in 48 games. It actually is 8 goals in 3 years. 3 years. 3 years.
Chris, you're going to wind me up in a minute where you keep throwing these crap stats around.
They're not crap stats. They're fucking factual stats. Do you know what I mean? This is fucking real stuff I'm talking about here.
I know. I know, but they are actually crap, aren't they?
They're awful. I can't wait until I see the article come out from West Ham saying that we signed him. I can't wait for that. Just reading it, saying, you know, what a great player he is. He's going to come out.
Yeah. And again, it'd be tweeted the same. So I've just only taken an interest this week about how this information flows, the way it comes down to a couple of people, and then gets, especially on X, gets retweeted out by the same accounts before it floods the whole fucking place. Right? You have not got a choice but to see these fucking tweets. You see them if you don't even want to. Right? Anyway. Right. Funny, isn't it? I wonder who put out the Steidten stories when he fell out with both managers. Well, the thing is, Sullivan was. I mean, look, pay attention, Jordan. Right? I'm not insulting you. I'm saying literally pay attention. It was clear that Moyes was reporting directly to Sullivan, and they were having their little meetings on the side and doing their own thing. Exactly the same thing happened with Lopetegui. Also, don't forget, every player starting sign. Think back to Caduce, the way Moyes didn't play him for 10 games. And then when he brought him as a sub, the fucker kept scoring, so he had to play him. Otherwise, he would look stupid, right? Look at Alvarez, the way Moyes fell out with Alvarez, and the way Lopetegui fell out with Alvarez, and Caduce, and Todibo, right? All the ones we know that Steidten definitely signed. It was like this narrative's been going on for a while, right? That's why I find Graham Potter so refreshing, because I do not believe he's playing this game. I believe he will use any good resource available to his cause, including the youths, which the other two didn't give a toss about, right? So that is why I'm totally behind Graham Potter. So yeah, you repeat the Sullivan words if you want. I'm not going to do it. That was another message that came out from Sullivan. He keeps falling out with managers.
I like this comment. I dreamt of Gomez and David, and of course we'll get Dad's Army. Bang on.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
we got the oldest average age in the Premier League. We had it last year. It's gone up, right?
It's only going to go up at the rate we're going, seriously.
We upgraded the squad. We've got a holder.
Right. Honestly. Hammer time. Get up. Get a up-and-coming striker given the rest of the season. So I'd love that. Yes, but it ain't going to happen. That's not going to happen.
It's a good call, but unless Salthouse has got one on his books, we ain't. Unless he's got another Somerville knocking about, ain't going to happen.
Honestly,
we're going to get. The one thing I really love.
The players we were linked with, right? Banzuzi, is that one really going to happen? Do you think it's going to happen, or do you think that one's dead in the water?
No, because two weeks ago we gave Karen Brady, the master negotiator, went over there. I don't know if she went over there. She picked up the phone or got someone else to pick up the phone. But she said, "Here's the offer. Take it or leave it." They said, "Leave it." She said,
she
"That's
probably
it.
just sent them a WhatsApp message or something, mate. That's probably
what it
did.
Is. Yeah, probably did.
So okay, so we're talking. All right, we've focused on Andre Silva. We've focused on Banzuzi. Look at all the other strikers and all the other midfielders and not so many defenders, actually, funny enough. It's mainly midfielders and strikers that we seem to be linked with in the press, right?
Yeah.
Who realistically are we going to fucking get now? Like, honestly, who are the realistic options? Because, honestly, I don't know anymore. I really don't, which really makes me concerned that we're actually not going to end up with anything. Honestly, that's how I feel.
I know one. No. It's gonna be that either the big streak from Brighton, who might be still injured, or the because that will be on a multi-year fucking deal. I think Brighton suspect he's a bit broken, or so Brighton would willingly get rid, and other clubs wouldn't take a risk on him. It's an Andy Carroll situation, I think, and then that might be being unfair to him. By the way, I don't know. I don't really know, right? But it's just the way it strikes me when I look at his injury record: repeated ankle injuries, right? That's the reason I said it. But the other guy who I think we will probably end up with is that geezer at Forest. If I'm being honest.
I don't know. Actually, hold up a minute. Thinking about this, have Forest, and I might be wrong here, have they not just signed one of the Brighton strikers?
Well, that's why.
If someone in the chat can say that, because if they have, then that would make me think, two things. Firstly, I can't imagine that Brighton would let go of Evan Ferguson anymore, because he'd probably be a backup because what they've got João Pedro, they've got Danny Welbeck, and then they'd have him 3. Right, so it'd be unlikely they'd let go of Evan Ferguson. I think they did sell a striker this week. So if they have and they sold him, I think it was to Forest, that could potentially release Awoniyi, who is also an injury-prone striker as well, right? I know he has got attributes that would probably fit West Ham. He's strong. He's built like a brick shithouse, so he can offer something. But again, it's all dependent upon whether he can keep himself fit.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. This is a good comment from Simon, which says, if we just went with Steidten's choice, he would only have brought the right manager in and the right players. Yeah, because he would have brought in the players for the manager, right? And never had the full backing or confidence in him to do the job. They didn't. He did it. He never really had the job. That's the thing. He's been a fake director of football. He didn't even have the title. He had the title sporting director. Never had director of football, right? He was always interfered with. And the one thing I've got to urge you to remember is that last January he was banned from getting involved in transfers. We sold Fornals and bought in Calvin Phillips. That was Moyes and Sullivan. This January, banned from transfers. What can I say? They want him out because he's outside the tent, or he's in a different tent. More than likely, he's a director of football. He'll have his own alliances, right? I'm not painting Tim as the pure. So all I'm saying is I don't like it when someone gets, unnecessary. What they're saying about him, and I don't know the bloke, But what I'm saying is about what he's done so far. I thought it was so impressive when he did those deals. We've never had anyone that could do those deals.
Yeah.
And I think that probably pissed him off that he did those deals.
Mate, it's true. It's 100% true, because we've been linked with so many players that are around 30, 40 million over the years. I mean, you only need to look back at players like, as an example, and it's going back some here, but I remember when we were linked continuously with Carlos Bacca. I think that was like 2016, 2015, 2017. It was like, I think it was like 3 seasons on the spin. And you know what? He might have been, actually didn't really end up being that great, because it was probably towards the near end of his career, and he started sort of regressing a bit. But so many players, like him being an example, we were linked with big players, you know, big transfer fees, never happened. But actually, under Steidten, he did actually manage to get the likes of Kudus and, you know, Alvarez. And, you know, as you said before, that typically in history wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have done. We'd just be linked and that's it.
Completely right. We know that Juventus badly wanted Todibo. He got Todibo, right? Man United wanted him as well, but they couldn't sign him because of timing or something, that they something to do with ownership. But those 2 clubs wanted him. We got him. I think that's the only reason for benching Steidten in a January is, you know, when you tell him go and get a player, he's going to come back with a player. Whereas, and it might not be as cost effective with the right intermediaries and whatever as it would be if you sent your own people out there. I don't know. I don't know the details. I'm just speculating. But there must be a reason behind it. And I think the reason behind it is it's satisfying, you know, people who don't really matter to us for people who do matter to us.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Just looking at a couple more of these chats. There are some decent forwards in the chat. Of course, there are. There are some decent forwards. We've called out one quite recently, haven't we? The lad over at Borough.
Yeah.
But again, can't see that one happening. Can't see that happening at all.
Yeah.
This one is true, right? Hammer's chat. So 100%, by the way, Liam Delap. We've been calling this one out for ages.
Yes, we both agree on this. Great call. Yeah.
Well, he's the one that we missed because we're all banging on about John Duran in the summer, but Liam Delap just, silently kind of ended up joining Ipswich Town. And he's been great for them. I mean, he's scored like 7 or 8 goals so far this season, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But again, good young striker, plenty of potential. Oh dear, what they pay for him? 20 million quid? I'm not being funny, mate. If we had 57 million quid, which we don't, right? If we had 57 million quid, I'd be quite happy to shell out 35 to 40 million for Delap because he's a striker for the future. He could be our striker for the next 4 or 5 years potentially, right? So I'm sorry. I just feel like there've been so many fucking transfers, certain players that we've missed out over the years. It's just such a crying shame. It really is.
Yeah.
It pisses me right off.
Again, Ipswich would definitely accept that because they're probably going to go down. He ain't going to want to go down. He can survive in the Premier League and do quite well. And the guy's got such good raw materials, right? He could be turned into something. And also, Potter needs a target man and someone that holds the ball up and brings others into play and all that sort of stuff. He really does. As well as a half-decent keeper who can use his feet and some legs in midfield.
So basically, it's mine.
Well, the first 2, though, Chris, the spine. I'm not going to call it a spine because you did. But I'll never admit you're right, Chris. You know that.
I've been calling it for months, mate. You know this. And you were like, no. Our centre-backs are fine. Our centre-backs are fine. Yeah. No, bollocks. You know that's not true. It's not true at all.
Yeah, but the absolute minimum requirement that I will accept, and again, I don't care whether I accept it or not, right? But me personally, to satisfy me, is what we need to make Potter competitive, in my view, is a decent striker, target man, one that isn't finished and on loan, and someone's going to stay fit for the rest of the season, and a very aggressive, a box to box, someone with legs in midfield. There's so many people that fit that bill, like Chuck Waymer and or the other geezer at Chelsea. There's so many, and they're even on loan. I'll take a loan in midfield. It's fine. Buy a striker because we want to build around a striker ideally. Midfielder, get one on loan, and if it works out, buy him. But that's a minimum requirement. I don't want 2 dodgy old loans from fucking Will Salthouse.
Yeah, but you look at those 2 players you mentioned. So Dewsbury Hall, he's just got back into the Chelsea team because they've got injuries in midfield. Chukwuemeka, apparently there's other clubs looking at him now. Again, we're just faffing around. We don't ever kind of go through right to the end and actually get the fucking deal done. And that's the most frustrating thing about it. You're going to fucking do it. Go out and fucking do it. Stop putting all this shit into the media and just saying that, we're after this player. We're putting this bid. Fucking go and do it.
Well, exactly.
Do it.
Exactly. This is something that's happened since dawn of time. And this is what I'm trying to say today. A lot of this stuff that's put out there ain't actually happening. It's either happened or it's not going to happen. Right? But what me and Chris do is we kind of go through all of this raft of links, and there's loads of them, isn't there? And we go through them before a show, and it's like let's try and sort the wheat from the chaff. Let's do our due diligence. Let's go through as injury prone, crap, old, knackered, doesn't score goals anymore. You sort it down, whittle it down. About 20% of the links are viable, right? You think yes, they'd be open to joining West Ham. Yes, they wouldn't be earning too much money. They wouldn't make too many demands. The big clubs are not going to be interested in them. It's obtainable, and he's probably got the right skill set to bring to West Ham. And that's kind of the criteria loosely that we try to use. You know, we only really bother, we list players when we do transfer shows, we list them, but we only really go down into one because really that's the one we believe in at the time might be a possibility.
Which was Andre Silva for me yesterday.
It was Andre. Yeah. What do you have to do that for? Is all you did by doing that? Is all you did by doing that detailed section on Andre Silva is to turn Will Salthouse on even more as to why he needs to get him on a long-term contract?
No, I did the opposite.
Yeah, I reckon your video was turned into a meme.
Yeah, of course it was. Oh, mate, we know what the meme is, Gal. We've seen the meme, mate. We know what went viral. No, honestly, I already fucking called it out why we shouldn't be going for him. I mean, how can you honestly go from a young, dynamic, striker that's got his whole career in front of him, has got all those attributes, the pace, the power, the finishing, to Andre Silva? How can you go from one extreme to the next? It's laughable, isn't it?
How can you go from there to Fulkrug? Yeah, how can you go from Duran to Fulkrug? I know.
Like, if you're consistently strikers at like 30, 40, 50 million pound, which we're not, but how can you go from one extreme to the next like that? How can you do that?
Yeah.
That's why I know Silva is actually a legitimate fucking target, because you can guarantee we'll end up with him. Honestly, I can see it happening. I can.
You know what would give me more.
See it happening.
You know, apart from protests, I don't think protests work. I've got to be honest. I think you never get enough people backing them. People are. However, and it just causes trouble and he'll feel it around the club. I don't know what the best way to do it is, but I'll tell you what the best thing you can start doing is to stop repeating what Sullivan says. That's what I'm saying. That was the point of all this bullshit I've said tonight, right? It's not bullshit. It's fucking valuable stuff. Right. So what we got here? Let's pick out some good comments, Chris, because we've got
there's loads of great comments. There's loads, but I think everyone.
Go on, you pick some out. Your eyes are better than mine.
No, they're really not.
Yeah, as a West Ham fan, honestly, it's easier to laugh at our own club rather than bang our heads against the wall. Yeah, it is, and I suppose, Wayne, that's why I've got a bit frustrated, because me and Chris have been in what little time we have trying to go through the information, go through the news, and make. We won't put loads of shows out. We never do, but at least put a couple out, and you get to the end of doing it. I think, got to be on a meeting. So I get on with the meeting. I get off the meeting 5 minutes early. I read through the news. I'm no further forward. I've just wasted 5 minutes. On to my next meeting. So, and I'm sure there are other people out there who in the audience and at home who have been trying to find salt wheat from chaff around West Ham and had the same experience. So yeah, just a bit tetchy this week. That's all. I want to see Ollie Skulls start over Cresswell. We all do. Hands up in the comments if someone disagrees with that. But Jordan, absolutely, yes. And Black Country. Gaz at 80. I've been banging. Oh, no. There's people talking to each other. Good God, my eyes are rubbish. Okay, Cresswell received an award for 300 Premier League games, which explains why Potter gave him a start. He could have come on as a sub, couldn't he? Or was that for starts?
What are you talking about? Say that again.
It's
just 300 games. Yeah.
Oh, so he could have had the last 10.
that was the big news on the West Ham website, official website. Was I think it was Jared Bowen giving him a little medal.
Nothing against Cresswell, and I don't think he was the worst player on the pitch because he played in a role that's familiar with him at left-sided centre back. Probably didn't think Skulls could do it, but if you're going to do that, at least play Skulls outside of him. That's what I'm thinking. But again, the manager's just trying to turn something decent in, out of really bad raw materials he's got at the moment. I mean, he's got no midfield. Let's face it.
It's a tough call. It's tough for him, and I said this the other day because I know people are kind of like, why are you playing this player? Why are we playing this formation? But look at the amount of players he's got at his disposal. Hardly any. So, and also, as I said before, I do genuinely believe that what he's doing is a good thing in the sense of wiping the slate clean and actually seeing what players he can trust and he can rely upon for the rest of the season, what players maybe he needs to ship out. I do think that's what he's doing. But sadly, I don't think there are many players that he can ship out because I don't think there's many sellable assets for us right now. I don't. I mean, there are, but they're not going to go now. You know, I can't see them
No.
going now. We need to hold up. We can't. If we could, you imagine if we got rid of Kudus or Paqueta or something like that? Can you? I mean, I know it's.
Oh, right at the end of the
could you
window.
imagine?
Yeah.
Could
Yeah,
you
at the end of
imagine?
the window.
What
Yeah.
about this one here? Do you reckon this one's going to happen? Batshuayi. I know there was a link there, and he's not injured.
Oh, I almost wept when I read this. I mean, the guy's so finished. I mean, he's literally can't score for Galatasaray. So, he didn't do it in the Premier League last time. Now he's not even doing it for Galatasaray. So great, bring him back. Brilliant.
Let's not forget he rejected us. He rejected us a number of years ago. You know, he mugged us off when he went to Chelsea.
Old, Chris. 31 years old. And
so he's got to be a legitimate target then, isn't he, in that case?
Absolutely.
He ticks all the boxes.
That's it. We're signing him, Andre Silva. And I'm not going to write, by the way, if we got, I don't want to be unfair. Like you said earlier, whoever we sign, I'll get behind. That's my rule. Players, not their fault. Not their fault. They're taking an opportunity to play for the mighty West Ham. Not their fault. The Forest striker, I was told by the Forest fan that I know, as soon as he get older, that he's actually pretty good. He's pretty good. He's a physical specimen. He's fast. He said he ain't that injury prone, to be honest. He's very robust, and they've got a strong team this year, and he just couldn't get into it very much. Same as James Ward-Prowse, who I would bring back.
Well, it seems to be mixed opinion on Awoniyi, because I agree with you. I think there are certain attributes, and I've seen him score certain goals in certain games where he's looked very good. But there's also been games where he hasn't, and he couldn't hit a barn door. So it's a bit of a mixed one, right? That's what I've heard anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
West Ham, come on, you irons. I think from what we hear, we have about 17 million to spend.
Over 5 years. Over 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, Mabama's actually played. Well, he's made a couple of appearances, isn't he? I know he played in the cup.
Sorry.
No,
I just cancelled your comment. What was it?
Mabama, he played in the cup game, didn't he, last weekend? Scored, and then he came on again, didn't he, as a substitute the other day? I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know whether Mabama's ever going to be the player that we all hoped he would be. I don't know if he will. But that being said, would I have him at West Ham now? Yeah, of course I would, because we don't have anything. I'd rather Mabama than Danny Ings up front, because at least he's going to have us a bit more up front in terms of energy. You know, we don't have that. So yeah, of course, it would have been good for him to stay. But
can I just say that by comparison, the last time I spoke to Steve Potts was with Kevin Keane in the Forge in the Posh Seats last year. When David Moyes was there, and he was a completely different Steve Potts. He was really miserable. I don't know why. But no, we had a lovely chat. Me and Paul cornered him for about 15 minutes, and we had a chat. And we were talking about I asked them in their honest opinion, have you got, how many players in that youth team? You've both played in the first team. You've been the captain. You've had a long career. In your honest opinion, how many players in that youth team can make the grade and flourish at Premier League level? And they looked at each other, and they came back and they said 6. They said so. They started with 5 and they went to 6, and they did do a comparison. And I never repeated it, but they did a comparison at the time, and they said, and we're not talking about people at Mabama level. We're talking about I know Skulls was one of them. I can't remember who the other ones were. To be honest, but
I'm guessing. Sorry to interject there, mate, but I'm guessing it's going to be Casey's got to be one of them. I think at that particular time, I think Earthy would have been another one. I think Alford would have been another one as well. I mean, there was some people in the chat actually talking about Callum Marshall. Let's bring him back. I mean, come on. I'm not saying that he's not going to be a good player. I question whether he's going to be good enough for Premier League. He's scoring some goals. I know that he's scoring some goals, but how desperate are we to be saying, can we need Callum Marshall back? I mean, bloody hell. I think give him time to develop.
I think his parents made a bad decision taking him to West Brom, wasn't it?
Yeah, he had a bad loan spell there.
He could not get in the team. It was far too early for him. Let Carlton Cole and Martin Noble, who picked the loan destinations, pick them for you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, his second loan's not going well either, but nor is it for the guy down at Bristol. Is it Earthy?
No, he's doing okay. No, Marshall's doing okay. He's actually doing okay. I think it's with Earthy not really getting much game time. I know he had an injury for a spell that kept him out of their team, but he's been on the bench quite a lot recently.
Marshall was one of the players they picked out, right? And I've got to be honest, I'm a bit brave in admitting that now, because I could just try and claim the big ones, couldn't I? But he was one of the ones they picked out. They said he's a special kid. So maybe.
But at the same time, even though they're ex-pros and they're with these players every day, doesn't mean that they're going to be right, because there's been a lot of talented youngsters that have come from the under 21s that never actually made the grade. So it doesn't mean that. Because at the end of the day, I would assume that Earthy was one of them. Earthy can't get into the Bristol City team at the moment. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to be good enough, but you have to question that as well.
Yeah.
Because if he really is exceptional, like a lot of fans thought, oh my God, yeah, he can be brilliant for West Ham. If he's not getting in the Bristol team right now, he needs that game time. So again, why? Is he that good enough? I hope he is. Is he that good enough? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Maybe as a striker, because it's very physical down there, isn't it? And big old centre half lumps. Maybe, just maybe, he needs to bulk up a bit. I mean, I haven't seen him lately. Maybe he needs to bulk up a bit, and maybe he's one of these players who, rather than starting games, he needs to play his football. Maybe coming on for 10 minutes, 15 minutes here in Premier League games, which is a lot more accomplished in terms of technical skills. Let me put it that way. Yeah, that might be what he's used to, technical skills. Yeah.
Only time will tell with some of these players, unfortunately. You just want them to get game time. If they're going on loan, you want them to get game time. That's the thing. If they're not, then bring them back. Like Potts, for instance. I understand why we haven't brought him back to some extent, because he's having a fantastic season over at Portsmouth. So keep him there, let him develop, because by the time we do bring him back, he'll be a much more accomplished player for us.
Well, I'll tell you what Steve Potts said. I mean, first of all, I said he's coming back. He said, well, there's been rumours. He said, but only 48 hours to go before the window shuts. But he said, but to be honest, he's not going to come back to sit on the bench. He said he wants to play football. That's why he's gone down there, and it's been a blinding move for him. Words to that effect. Well, not verbatim, right? But that's what he said. He said, that is why he went out on loan in the first place. He does not want to sit on the bench, not even in the Premier League. And I admire that. That's great. He wants to play football, the kid, and he's doing so well for it. Imagine a young kid going to play in that fucking airy-ass Wickham team last year and being their Premier League, their player of the year. And then this year, tearing it up for Pompey in a struggling team, setting up goals, assists everywhere.
He's doing great. He's the main man over at Portsmouth right now. He is.
Yeah. So I think the future is bright, but what we need to do is we need to tolerate and be a little bit patient with Potter to start with, and forgive him these next couple of games, because we ain't going to be playing Chelsea, Arsenal and Villa in quick succession very often this season. In fact, it's the only time, right? But the decent run of games will come after that. So let's not treat him too harshly, and let him get his players back. And if he gets some new signings, let him integrate them, give him time. Because all you can do is, like we judged Lopetegui, which was you want to see improvement, yeah? You want to see incremental improvement. The only thing that would make me go off of Potter would be if I didn't see any improvement, all right? But every game we see with Potter is something different. He clearly tried to set up the tactics to cancel Palace out last time because he didn't really have any players. But when we went 1-0 down, it was game over because we had no attack. So, but I think the first half was actually all right. It was actually all right, but boring.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Gio got to say here. So I'm okay with cheap loan, providing they go big in the summer and get a substantial sign-in in that department. Yes. The thing is, at the moment, Gio, I just feel that the manager ain't being backed, and I think it's transparent. What they're doing is just so transparent. They wouldn't be doing this with another manager they've just brought in. They'd be helping them. Do you remember when David Moyes came back? When on the second time, wasn't it? When Pellegrini, no, I think it was when Bilic left, or whenever it was, whatever January it was, when they went out and bought Suchek and Bowen. They found some money. They were the difference makers, weren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, they were incredible signings. They were. They've got to be up there in the top, top 3, 4, 5 signings, January transfer signings ever for West Ham. I mean, they've been incredible for us. No matter what you think about Suchek, he's our highest goal scoring Premier League midfielder now. It's facts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So, right, let's go. I'm miles behind in the comments.
Oh, there's so many. I'm interested because I know you. So is it Gio from Hamish Chat said about happy with a loan signing till the end of the season, and we go big in the summer. But would you be happy with Andre Silva though? Because that seems the likely option right now, doesn't it? That's the one. That's the one.
Listen, as long as it's loan with no obligation, it's no risk. But I don't want that. I don't want that bloody thing where we've got even an option to buy on him, because the odds are what could happen is he could have a crap season, have 3 good games at the end, and then we'd be talking about doing a deal for him. No, I don't want to do it. So yeah, it's really difficult, because that they're so reactive. They're so reactive, the board, to if something happens on the pitch, someone has a good game, like when Somerville had his first good game, then you see Sullivan's taking credit for signing it right straight away. That's what happens when Soler had a good game the other week. They were talking about negotiating buying him for 20 million. It's just they react to it straight away. Like when we did well at Villa, on the way home, I said, I bet Sullivan's put his wallet away, right? You cannot trust them.
No, you can't.
No.
I remember that. I remember that season as well. How can we forget that season?
Before we go, Chris, I haven't even told you this. Let's tell the audience, right? I've been in touch with Rob Banks, who's a friend of mine, and he's got a channel where he does the Lyle years and the Redknapp years. Really good, actually. It's just like 20-minute, half-hour videos that encapsulate the season, like music, news clips, video, football headlines, and everything else. Really, really good. Takes you back in time, makes you feel like you were there. And what we're going to do is we're going to get a little panel together of me, Chris, Rob, and John, and we're going to go through. Say it's a 20-minute video. We're going to go through maybe the first 5 minutes or something, and just stop and have a chat about it. Because if you're, and we won't. We're going to pick out the best selection of the videos. The first one will be 1982. So if that's your kind of era, you're about
bloody hell, mate.
Chris, you were one.
I was one, mate. Yeah, you don't have to tell everyone my age, but yeah, I was very young. Yeah, I don't remember that season particularly well.
So I remember it very well, and probably a lot. But even if you don't remember that season, you'll probably it'd be as entertaining for you as it would be for those that were there. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there. So it's 20 minutes. Gonna go through it. Hopefully we can make a good format and a good show out of it. But I'm really looking forward to that, because talking about current stuff all the time, we're going to carry on doing that, but it gets me down.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, though, Dave, you're right, because I think I love those Rob Banks videos. I think they're brilliant. I really do.
They're brilliant.
Because they just bring back so many good memories for me, particularly during the 90s. And you just think, God, I forgot about that game. But then I can remember, then you start watching that, and it also puts the music in the background from that particular era as well. It's brilliant. I love them. I mean, if you haven't seen it, check it out, because it's a really good channel. Really good channel.
So what I'll probably do, because what I want to do is push traffic towards Rob's channel. I'll chat to him at half time every time over there, right? But what I want to do is I'm not going to put an acceptable music. I'll probably take the demonetization on those videos to do them justice, right? Because the soundtrack's good.
Yeah.
In fact, I might just turn the ads off for them and just, what's the point? If you're going to get demonetized anyway, you might as well you might as well just not monetize them, right? So that's what I'll probably do for those, just to do them justice. And I think everyone will enjoy them. And what we do is we'll pick one out from an era. So the first one will be 1982. Might be a bit 12 for some of you, but watch it anyway. But then we'll choose some recent ones, like the Julian Dix eras and stuff like that. And there's a brilliant one, Julian Dix, and there's loads on Harry Redknapp. And I think if you look at the people who watch us, the Harry Redknapp era, like him or loathe him, that was a great era, a golden era. Yeah,
it really was. Yeah,
yeah, and it's nice to make a video with a little bit of content. It'll be quite an easy thing like this, right? Just a chat, sit back and watch telly, chat.
Well, it takes you back to some happier times, actually. Not all happier times. Let's be honest. But I think. But actually, even having said that, I say happier times. I know we weren't doing particularly well, particularly during the mid-90s. But I loved going to West Ham back in the mid-90s. I loved it.
So did I.
Absolutely loved it. Yeah. Because what you knew that you get week in, week out is you'd get players giving it 110%. You'd always know that. And even if we're playing like, the kind of the big four or whoever, all those kind of top teams, you knew that we'd always give them a game. Don't get me wrong, we did get spanked by a lot of those teams as well, but at least we gave it a good go. And that's all we ever asked for as West Ham fans. But sadly, we don't see that so much nowadays, do you? It's like the low block, sit back, let them come on it. It's just so different nowadays.
It was messy, scruffy football, wasn't it? But it had a lot of skill. I mean, I wonder what happens if you watch videos of Georgie Best and the skills that he had on those pitches with those defenders who were trying to kill him. What would happen if you transplanted him onto a modern day football surface where the defenders are not really allowed to tackle you, right? And he was conditioned and fit. Not allowed to touch a drop of alcohol, that's right. And, not having steak before you go out. No fags are out, right? So what would, given what Georgie Best did with all of that shit inside him, what would he have been like in the modern era? I think he would have been just outrageous. Same for Alan Devonshire.
Oh, right? Gosh,
Imagine
Trevor
if no
Brooke
one could
and all
take
these
him
players.
at the knees.
Yeah. So many players would have been incredible.
playing on a carpet. You look at the video of the 1976 European Cup Winners' Cup final at Upton Park against Eintracht Frankfurt. One of the game I wish I was old enough to have gone. I'd happily be a couple of years older just so I could be at that game, right? I only started going a year later. Absolutely the best atmosphere I've ever heard, even on video at Upton Park. It was immense. And that's what I was told that by someone who's now passed away, sadly, Colin. But I watched it back. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And that was, to my mind, the best game Trevor Brooking ever played. He was the master. He was the daddy in that game. It was different class, and that is one of the reasons that I will always have. He's the only player I've ever hero worshipped. I loved a lot of players like Bonzo, of course you did, right? But I hero worshipped Trev because we got relegated to the second division when I just started watching us, and he stayed with West Ham. He said to Ron Greenwood, the England manager, "Are you still going to pick me?" And he said, "Yep." He said, "Right, I'm staying." Stayed with us for 3 years, and every England game he was playing for England in the second division, and that is loyalty, right? I love that. Absolutely love that. Cloughie tried to sign him. Cloughie tried to sign him. Just one more thing, right? And he refused. And so Brian Clough, being the bitch that he is, he went out in the papers like the weekend and said, "Trevor Brooking floats like a butterfly and stings like one too." That sort of thing. Shit, bad Cloughie impress. Yeah. Go on, Chris.
It's not bad. You love talking about Cloughie, didn't you? Until someone told you something the other week, and you're like, "Oh, got that."
I don't think that's true, by the way. I don't think that's true.
Do you not? Did you look it up? You did look it up, didn't you? Did you rule it? You can't rule anything out nowadays.
I haven't ruled it in yet.
We know
Chris,
this.
So I'm working to rule it out.
Yeah. Good shout, Ian, by the way. Harry and the Paolo Di Canio era. Great memories. I loved that time. It was incredible, wasn't it? It was such a special couple of years that was.
Mr. Moon is in the stadium. I love that. I get that on a recording and have it on a button. I think the Hammerettes, they were the worst dancers ever. Right. I went to the States and I went to some game and they had like proper cheerleaders and they were high energy, in total sync, and not that people watch them for their dancing. I'm just saying, we were up high once and you realised.
What did you watch them for then, girl?
They weren't that good. But I didn't watch them for that. No.
What were you watching them for? You said you just said you didn't watch them for the dancing. What are you watching them for?
Can I just say what my dad said, because he was a dirty old bastard, right? And they were walking past one day because they used to do the little dance and then walk past and wave to the crowd. And my dad was next to us. He said, "Oh, what I could do with one or two of them." I said, "Shut up."
You were like, "Yeah, do you know what, Dad? You're not wrong."
Yeah. Oh. Late news here from Gonzo. Interesting. Just seen that Bobby is playing for Ajax right now, so don't think he is our striker. What
surprise that is.
Tim's not here to sign him, Gio. He's not here to sign him, for Christ's sake. We're basically constructively sacked our advantage, right? Even if you only used him to do deals. You say, "Tim, you ain't got an office anymore. There's a lounge and a telly. Enjoy yourself. Kick back, enjoy yourself. Invite your German mates over and have a party every day, right? When we want you to sign a player, grab the jet, go and sign the play, do the deals." That's all you'd need to use him for. It's worth it for that, right?
I honestly, the more I think about it, I just cannot see who on earth we're going to sign apart from Andre Silva at this moment. I just can't see any one of those links happening. I can't. I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong.
I think we're going to close now, but thank you, everybody. It's been a fun chat tonight. It's been really good. I feel happier now, I must admit. Even Chris looks happier.
I'm not. I'm genuinely not happy. I'm not. I'm a little bit calmer, but I'm not happy.
Okay, Chris, how can you be happy? Cheered up. Admit it. You cheered up.
A little bit. These things are quite cathartic sometimes.
Yeah, they are. Just let's finish on one thing. Peanuts. Chris don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't, but I just love your little impressions.
I know. It's just like being there, isn't it? Right, let's find something to play on the way. Should we go for a Kenny Tan Lem one again? Because I'm a bit obsessed with them. Let's go for the... seeing as we're on a bit of a ball downer, as every bloody week, what should we do? Should we do the tourist one? I think the tourist one, yeah.
Yeah, back that on.
Sorry, Len, I'm abusing your videos. I know you gave me permission, but I'm abusing them a little bit. I apologise for that. Chris, can you say that comment off the screen? I'm going to start the old outro. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show. We shall see you next time. Let's get some business done in the transfer window. Come on, you irons.
Hey Goldie, what's on today's to-do list?
Why, it's match day, Dave. Are you hoping for a full house tonight?
Not too fast, as long as we sell all the tickets. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care if you come down here.
Make more money for the tourists here, so I don't care if you come down here.
Nathan Bellevic's got a boy for the night. His ex-missus said you better treat her kitty right. Buys a kid a ticket and a burger and a Sprite. Got a train home, 200 if you like.
Cause I don't care, I don't care, I don't care if you come down here. Cause you make more money for the tourists here, so I don't give a monkeys if you come down here.
Stop from a pocket, took a bully in the water. Never lost a rumble, but it can't get sore. Climbs more stairs than he did before. What's his old seat, then he's got to pay more.
Cause I don't care, I don't care, I don't care if you come down here. Cause you make more money for the tourists here, so I don't give a monkeys if you come down here.
Because the cabbie only goes to football with his wife. He did it as a kid and he's done it all his life, but he don't get a winter fuel allowance anymore. He's gonna sell his ticket to a bloke for Singapore.
I don't care, I don't care, I don't care if you come down here. Cause you make more money for the tourists here, but we don't give a monkeys if you're here next year. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care if you come down here.